All right, welcome back. This is episode 4 of KG Talks, and joining me this afternoon is the head judge of KG Classic, Mr. Coach Steve. Um, Actually, I thought about this episode during KG Classic, and it would be nice to recap
Okay.
all the winners for Classic Physique and the Men's Physique Open, and we'll talk about some of the other categories. But I think if we do the whole show, it might be until episode 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're doing this now because we're fresh out. It's 1 week out,
Exactly 1 week after
so
the
it's
show.
still fresh in your
Yes, yes.
your brain that what happened over the weekend. So just to recap, 2023, 2024 athlete quality.
Big difference in terms of the overall quality, the talent, and of course the number of participants. So it was definitely more challenging to judge this year because we had to, of course, judge way more people, and the talent pool really increased. And of course, we had to stick to the strict timelines as much as possible. So overall, it was a bit more challenging, but at the same time, we brought our experience from last year. So we were able to develop like a mini system of how to make the judging a bit more efficient and streamlined. So initially it was a bit daunting that we might go overboard like in terms of timelines, but we did exceed a bit, like around 30 minutes, which I think was reasonable. And overall, I can say that we are happy with the results, especially when reviewing and looking back at the pictures, videos, and of course the actual posts of the competitors.
Yeah, I think regarding the overtime, I think next year I need to put bathroom breaks
Correct,
on the
yes. So
timeline.
two things, periodic bathroom breaks
Yeah.
and maybe 2 to 3 minutes for us to actually finalize our
Yeah.
scoring, because that in itself is very critical.
Yeah.
So before we submit our sheets to the tabulator and his team, we need to ensure that we actually score accurately.
Yeah.
Translate what we have on our scoring sheets to the actual final sheet for submission.
Okay, so just going back, this is the first we brought back Classic Physique this year. 2019 we had it, and then we sort of like just did all men's physique last year, and then we brought back Classic Physique this year. Are you happy with the quality of Classic Physique athletes that joined us this year?
Yeah, definitely. To me, I think classic physique overall, it's still a developing division in the Philippines. So you find a lot of competitors from bodybuilding, also from men's physique, joining classic. But this year, I think we started seeing people who are really quite like really focused on doing well and just focusing on classic physique. So overall, impressed with both classic physique A and B, and the winners were definitely top notch.
So for those who are not familiar, Classic Physique has a for Steve and I talk about it and we often say that Classic Physique has a certain shape that you look for, which is not
Correct.
necessarily a shape that is from that you look at bodybuilding.
Correct. So not because you do well in bodybuilding does it mean that you can or will also do well in classic. So I think classic physique, it also looks for a certain look. Like the competitor should have a like a very impressive or decent structural genetics, and it actually the rest of the criteria build off that. So you have to have the structure first, and then you add the other things like appropriate muscle mass, decent conditioning, etc., posing, etc. Yeah.
Having said that, let's go to the very first category, which is Classic Physique, Class A. Five athletes. We're just going to talk about the five winners,
Okay.
from first to the fifth. A little bit of trivia. this is also the only category that you asked for a confirmation round.
Correct. Yes, that is true. So
So, yeah. So, for those who are wondering, what's a confirmation round? A confirmation round is if Steve and the four other judges think that they need to rejudge a category, they would. We have a hand signal. You wouldn't know what it is. I won't tell you what it is, but we have some hand signals that goes on, and they will rejudge the category. So this is the only one amongst all the the divisions and categories that we had to rejudge. Anyway, so let's go on the fifth, which is Moises.
yeah, Moises, I think he has very good shape. But the thing that held him back from placing higher was most probably his conditioning. So if he came in a bit tighter, then I would have expected him to, be to fight for, say, third and fourth.
Okay. And then, of course, we all know Stanley, who took fourth.
Yes, Stan brought, like, his conditioning was very decent, but I think he could have been a bit tighter and a bit fuller, and his tan could have been better.
Okay.
So those things held him back. And when reviewing and looking at his physique, I think he still needs a bit more time to further refine his physique, because he has, to me, sufficient muscle mass, but he has to say ensure that his waist is always small, and continue building muscle on the right places. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely he has the muscle and he has the conditioning.
Looking at his picture, do you actually say that lower body, waist down, he's really amazing now?
Yeah,
And if he
definitely.
needs to build up anything, it would be from his waist up.
Correct. Yeah, definitely lower body is world class, like conditioning and the density of his development, like lower body quads, hamstrings, glutes.
What's up with the natty guys having really
Correct.
great legs?
Like,
Like,
if
shout
you-
out to Grant, who has like really amazing legs too.
Correct. Yeah. If any one of the viewers actually follow Stan, you can see how the intensity he brings into his training. So that's really a testament to the hard, dense look that he brought to the stage. So, going forward, I think he just has to continue working on his upper body, and to ensure that his waist is always tight. Just maintain the conditioning, and he'll always be very competitive, in my opinion.
So taking third place is, of course, we all know Lloyd.
Lloyd, yeah.
Lloyd is one of the few veteran bodybuilders who's now competing in classic physique.
Correct.
But I really like his shape for classic physique more than bodybuilding. I think he really has an edge with his shape for classic physique. What?
Yeah, I'd say, like, number one, like, I've followed Lloyd as well, like, through his career, and I regard him as one of those, like, versatile bodybuilders who can actually do both classic and bodybuilding. For this particular show, he did present very polished physique, very refined physique, but honestly, the top three were very difficult to judge. And like, the way I thought was he was slightly he lacked some density when it came to his physique. So that's most likely the reason why he ended up third and not higher. But overall, he has the classic shape. I'm actually curious if he's still way below the limit,
Yes, he is.
the weight
Weight-
limit, because to me it's just I know another he just needs to sufficient time to actually continue building his physique in order to maximize the weight cap, and just maintain the conditioning, maintain his lines, of course, add muscle to the right places, and he can always be, like, top three contender in any competitive show. So very very good competitor. I just think that the first two, the top two guys just had something extra in them.
Now that you've
Yeah.
mentioned the top two, like we'll go through them together.
Yeah.
Casey, who took second,
Correct. Yes.
and Kevin who took first. Now, trivia, this is Casey's first ever show.
Correct, yes.
Ever. First ever bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
Which is very impressive. And Kevin has always been, he's been competing for quite some time as well now. So,
Yeah. Between the two of them, both of them actually have slightly different looks. So Casey, as you said, first timer, definitely very impressive. Full muscle bellies, deep separation, very strong back development. And on the other hand, we have Kevin, who I think had the best like structural genetics among the five guys. And Kevin has nothing overdeveloped, nothing underdeveloped. I think he had a very balanced physique that he brought to the stage. Just the right amount of muscle mass, shape, symmetry, flow. Posing was also very decent. So when it comes to like deciding who would be first, it most often than not would come down to who has the least number of flaws. So to me, Kevin had the best like package in terms of structure, shape, conditioning, flow, and muscularity. Well, of course, Casey Roy, right? Was very impressive. But it's only his first show. As long as it depends if he wants to stick with classic. But if he decides to stick with classic, just continue refining the physique. He needs to ensure that his waist is always tight because he has very good abdominal development. He just has to ensure that the waist, and the taper actually improves over time, and definitely will be a top contender in the classic category should he choose to do that.
well,
So
I hope we see
Yeah.
him again compete. Not even if it's not in KG Classic, but
Yes,
I really
definitely.
hope that it's something
yeah, definitely
something he
Very-
pursues in the
correct.
future.
Very impressive physique.
Because he's really impressive.
Super.
Really has good genetics
definitely
for somebody who's natty as well.
correct.
Has
Yes.
like
So
what like huh?
Yes, yes.
It's like wow. It's like really really impressive. Really impressed.
Very
So I
impressive.
saw him backstage. We were talking backstage before he came out the stage, and I was like, wow. And I saw his coaches, and I was like, okay. I
yeah,
said,
so definitely impressive, like irrespective of the status, whether
Yeah.
natural or not. Period. He's
yes,
super
he's-
impressive. Period.
he's
Yes.
impressive.
Yes.
So okay, so Class A is done. We now go to Class B.
Okay.
Hopefully, sila Warren will superimpose the pictures here, so that
so
we
that-
will
yeah, definitely.
we will see you guys will see who we're talking about. So, okay, Class C, Class B, Class B.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, we're not having Class C next year. We're just having two classes for classic physique.
Yeah, Class B was, I'd say, a very straightforward class to judge. Like, we were fresh from judging classic physique A, so we already, were warmed up to judge further. And classic physique Class B was a relatively small class, so it was straightforward. We just had one big call out, and I ran them through the
Mandatories.
mandatory poses and the symmetry poses all in one go. So I'd say it was not quite straightforward. The quality is of course top notch, but it was not difficult to see like the placings and the differences among the competitors.
Like number 5, like I spotted him.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember posting his picture during when he competed in Muscle Factory.
Yeah, yes.
And I said, this guy's impressive.
Correct.
From Butuan.
Yeah, so fifth was
Al,
Al, right? Yeah. So definitely a lot of size, a lot of raw mass, which of course he has to refine further. So it might take, several months to a few years, but he really has to, continue training the right body parts so he adds muscle on the right places, not just add muscle blindly. And he has to work on his conditioning.
Conditioning.
So in terms of potential, I see it, but it might require some time for him to fully realize it. So I hope he continues to stick with this journey and improves show to show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's go fourth and
Sure.
third together. Like Manny took fourth and Jerry took third. For me, Manny does have a good shape. You know, shape wise, he looks good. But I guess from the judges' table, you could see that there were a few flaws in his
Correct.
physique.
So Manny is, yeah, I think he also compete. Yeah, he also competes in bodybuilding. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely he brought, enough size. But I think he needs to work on his overall tightness, like in terms of his midsection. The lower ab area should be very tight, should be very drum tight, and from the back, the flank area, it should also be very tight. I think um, his tan and oil could also, could have been better during prejudging. But overall, he has some decent body parts. Like his back is one of his strongest parts. But
Towards the flank area, that's
correct.
where
So
you
in terms of tightness and conditioning, like skin tightness and presentation overall, yeah, I think he can continue working on that, and definitely if he nails that, then he'll definitely be better in his next shows.
yeah. Like Jerry brought a better package from 3 weeks ago from Muscle Factory. He was tighter this time.
Correct. Yes. So Jerry overall, I'd say very polished physique. I actually was not, you know, I was not, I did not follow the Muscle Factory show,
Yeah.
but for this show, he did present a very polished physique. I think he can still be tighter from the back, but his posing was, I'd say, very good. Like he can pull off the classic poses quite well. I like how he does the front double bicep with his vacuum. But yeah, I'd say he got third because his physique was polished, more polished overall. He was, his conditioning was enough, but I think he can still be a bit tighter. We actually like talk about that post show, but definitely I think classic physique is a good division for him. And maybe one more thing, I think Jerry's lower body, it's very developed, it's very impressive, and he just has to focus more on his upper body going forward to match his lower body.
Would
So
that be his lats or 'cause that's Jerry right there.
I'd say more on the front,
Oh,
like a front side upper body. So slightly more arms would benefit him as well, but overall very solid physique, like lower body's world class definitely. And as long as he continues to add, to improve the upper body and be a bit tighter, then he can definitely be way more competitive, like whatever the show he chooses to compete in.
30, of course, for me, if there's anybody who really poses classic, it's 30, which sometimes he brings to men's physique, the way he poses. But for me, 30 really, when it comes to posing of classic physique poses, he embodies
Correct.
the classic.
Yes. So definitely 30 in terms of presentation, posing, stage presence. Definitely, he delivered. Like you instantly can see that, okay, I belong to classic, and this is how I present my physique. So he has very very dominant shots. Like his midsection conditioning, like flow was top notch to me. Then of course from the back, his back did improve from last year, but I think that's still an area that I'm not, it's not really a major weakness, honestly, that held him back, but it's something that he can continue working on. But
Yeah.
very polished physique, structurally very wide shoulders, small waist, very good presentation.
Well, he actually did not make weight. when he weighed in 1 o'clock. And he came back. I told him, you have until 5 o'clock to make weight.
Okay.
So he came back at 4. He was still point 0.2. I said, you have 1 more hour. And he made weight at 5 o'clock. You think that affected his conditioning on show day?
Could be. Most likely, could be the additional stress that he had to experience in order to make weight. Of course, in the ideal scheme of things, like everyone joining Classic would make weight the first try, the first attempt, right? But it could have contributed to his look. But overall, I don't think it was that detrimental because he still looked very polished, posing very confident. Like the moment he entered the stage. But that said, I think he just has to be careful going forward because if he chooses to compete in Classic and he's already at the limit, then he has to reassess like how do I improve without actually exceeding the criterion, because if he does, then he would not be allowed to compete in Classic anymore. So, that's something for him to consider, like going forward, in order for him to continue accumulating the improvements that he needs, while at the same time staying within the limit. Yeah.
And then, of course, the winner. Was this like unanimous right away? As soon as you had 8 guys on the center line, all of you knew, okay, Sandrix wins.
Pretty much. I have to review the actual scores, but I wouldn't be surprised.
No, he was one.
Okay. So, Xandrix definitely, again, the very moment he showed up, confidence was through the roof. Presentation, charisma, posing, and physique-wise, he delivered. Very complete physique, good flow, small waist, upper body versus lower body, very balanced. So nothing, nothing was underdeveloped, nothing was overdeveloped. So definitely he's fit together very well.
I'm not
Then,
sure if it's
yeah.
an unpopular opinion, but I really like him in Classic more than Men's Physique.
I think so. I agree with you because I'd say Xandrix is one of those guys whom I regard as another versatile bodybuilder, meaning whatever category he joins, he can do well. He tends to do well actually. But I think Classic Physique suits him better. Number one, because it allows him to showcase his lower body, and his lower body is very decent. And number two, it allows him more creativity and ability
Presentation.
to present himself,
Yeah.
which is one of his
Strength.
strengths.
He's
Like definitely
you know he's
secret,
on the,
secret
he
weapon.
owns
Yeah.
he basically
Correct,
owns
yes.
the stage whenever he steps on the stage. It's like I'm right before the finals, the overall.
Overall.
I was backstage. I was holding him so before the smoke and the strobes come out, and he said, "Sir, pwede bang mag-split?" I said, "Do whatever you want,
Correct.
as long as you don't hurt yourself." I said, "Do whatever you want." So theatrics wise and everything, he really knows how to put on
Definitely.
a show for the audience, which is like for me, it's like really for somebody who promotes a show and everything, it really is quite nice to
I
have
agree.
an athlete like that.
And when you think about it, bodybuilding, it's really two parts, right? So one part is the process of dieting, the training, time in the gym, cardio, eating, etc. And then the other part is when you actually step on stage, presentation, ability to pose. So he's one guy who's able to really maximize the presentation, the posing, confidence, really engage the crowd. So I think Classic is a very appropriate venue for him to actually exhibit all of these traits. And it really, he was in his element. Like he really owned the stage. Like it's as if he's done that 100 times. So definitely hands off, the winner of this class, unanimous, deserved it all the way.
But okay, so when it came to the overall, it was between Kevin and Sandrix. Was there a lot of debate between the five of you
To
as to who's going to?
to be honest, it was straightforward. So the reason why we selected Xandrix was number one, he had more muscle, he was bigger, while still maintaining the same. Like both of them were structurally excellent, but Xandrix had more muscle, definitely more development, and his presentation, as we've just discussed, presentation posing was top notch. So we had enough reason to award him the overall for classic physique.
This is when we moved to the men's physique open. I was quite nervous for this because when I saw the list, I think class A.
50 plus, 40 plus.
So if you can see, like this is all everybody who did class A, and when I was going through this the night before, everyone who checked in, and I'm like, good luck to good luck to the judges. I'm like, you'd be splitting hairs to find the top five.
Correct. So Open A is the most difficult because again, it Open A had one of the most, number of
Athletes,
competitors. And the talent quality is through the roof. Meaning relatively Open A was the most competitive and had the most talent. So we had two things to really worry about. So we had to really find ways to make the judging more efficient, meaning we could automatically filter out like who's most likely to place top five, who's most likely to place out of the top five. But it's very difficult. We had to go through a lot of rounds, like front poses, back poses, just for us to, be convinced that, okay, this top five is really our top five. Doesn't mean that, the guys who placed out of the top five were not good. They were still excellent. But unfortunately, when it comes to shows, we have to really rank competitors and just, have to cut it off.
Yeah, because
Top five cut
I
off, yeah.
remember us talking about saying, okay, first call outs, how many should we call out? We talked, we had that conversation, and I said, well, it really is up to you. And I said, well, and we sort of like decided on a number which was 8.
Yeah, I think average we would pick 7 to 8.
Yeah,
In fact, it's quite difficult to do a clean cutoff of 5 unless the number of participants is really low and it's really clear to the judges like
Who the top five
top
is.
5 obviously these guys and the rest, but certainly not the case for Open A. Everyone was like, a lot of competitors there were legit good.
so let's start from the defending champ
Correct.
to the 5th place. Danny. He's like,
Yeah, definitely
delivered yet again.
Definitely, I remember him. He was last year's Open A winner. Definitely delivered again this year. I think his physique actually improved. Like people talk about his waist like being one of his strongest points, but his back as well.
his lower back.
Correct. So he's one of the, I wouldn't say few, but maybe one of the few guys whose front pose and back pose are both top
Strong,
notch.
yeah.
So usually for many competitors you could see some like discrepancy, like this competitor can have a stronger
Front
front
shot,
pose
yeah.
relative to his back pose and and the other way, but he's one who has both his front and back poses are very competitive period, and definitely more muscle this year, just as conditioned if not more conditioned. So definitely instantly like this guy would be placing for the top spot,
Yeah.
like definitely, yeah.
And then of course following him was Jonald Romero,
Correct.
who's been competing. I've known Jonald since when he was still a trainer in Fitness First. I used to teach in Fitness First. I've known him for such a long time.
Correct, yes, yeah. I
So-
also competed against him back in the day, so definitely on that regard, longevity wise he's still super consistent, doesn't seem to fade, still going at it 100%. So yeah, he used to compete in bodybuilding. Then now he's moved to men's physique, which I think suits his physique very well,
Yes,
given
agree.
his, his torso, his midsection is very strong. Like abdominal development, symmetrical.
And his
The
muscles are
waist,
mature
correct.
already.
Waist is small, chest is round, everything. Like the front shots, the front pose. I mean, his front pose is excellent.
Okay, and then number three is Jake,
Jake, yeah,
who's we've this is I think his first time competing in Manila.
correct.
He's
I
won
think,
a
yeah.
few competitions in Cebu, and this is the first time he's competed in Manila. Uh, I really like how bubbly he looks like.
So Jake was definitely not a familiar face, but his physique really stood out. Square, full chest, symmetrical abs midsection, torso length relative to the legs just right. Back was not lagging. Overall, very impressive, very balanced. Technically, no weak points in terms of muscular development. So instantly, we knew that this guy would be fighting for top five. I think he could, maybe I'm not really sure what his like background is in terms of his competitions or how he's improved year to year, but I think if he comes in a bit tighter, a bit fuller, of course, it sounds like a very generic advice, but it's sometimes when you're, like very close to each
To-
other, that's really the way how to edge,
Yeah.
or,
It's like
like
just the
increase your
conditioning,
chances,
yeah,
right?
just the conditioning, and
Yes,
just the fullness,
fullness and
everything,
maybe
yeah.
tweak some presentation, but overall very impressive. Like typical, his physique is what I'd say is what you would think of men's physique.
Yes,
Front post, men's physique, you have an idea. That is Jake,
yeah.
right? Yes.
Small waist,
Small waist, yes.
broad shoulders.
Square chest, broad shoulders, popping square chest, like
Yeah,
really cut,
agree.
symmetrical abs, tapered midsection.
Yeah, totally
Everything.
agree. Of course,
Arms very good as well. Enough.
yes, enough. I wouldn't ask him to work on arms too much because I don't want it to over,
So
you know, class A people
yes.
sometimes.
Sorry.
It's
So,
okay.
so far it's
Yeah,
still
so far it's still okay.
yes.
I don't think you want to go,
Correct.
especially now that they scored down people who have really huge arms.
Correct,
So
yes.
I think, yeah, and of course, number four, the fourth place
Yes,
is
Albert.
Baki. Yeah,
Yes, Albert.
they call him Baki because of red hair.
Okay,
he looks like Baki
yeah,
from
number 55. I remember him because he also won
juniors. He is like whatever JJ is his coach.
Correct.
Whatever JJ is doing is like wow. It's like
Yes,
he's-
and if not mistaken, he's only 21 years old.
he has 2 more years. I think he's
Correct.
one of the junior athletes. Like there's some athletes that when they enter the juniors, that they have it already, and they will just continue and progress every year.
Correct.
And for him to be 21 and landing the fourth place in a very stacked Class A last weekend is just like
Correct. So definitely Albert definitely has the tools, and his physique is very complete. Like nothing missing as well. Shape, width, symmetry, abs,
look at that back.
back. So
Conditioning lang for me.
yes, could be tighter, but could be probably, he still has a lot of years he's still very young. So most likely conditioning will be something he can continue refining on going forward. But he's definitely one of the impressive, standouts of the show. And the fact that he's only 21 and doing very well in the open class speaks a lot about his development in physique. So whatever he and his coach have been doing, it's working. So
Just continue.
just continue.
continue
So
whatever you're doing. Just continue. Don't change it.
whether he still wants to pursue junior or just focus on open, it's up to him. But he definitely can do well in both. Very impressive, very complete physique. He might have a small stature, but he's still
It's balanced, Seb.
Yeah, correct.
Even if he's small, and because there are some people who are like, let's say, like, I think they're the same height as Danny. There's some people who are in that height of Danny and Albert, and yet you see them, they're not proportioned. They're
Correct.
It's either they're too
yes.
wide or they're too, they become quite blocky already. But for Danny and Albert, the flow of of one body part to the next just fits.
Yes,
It
definitely.
just looks really nice to look at.
So he's put together very well. That's another way of saying it.
Genetics, like, yeah.
Correct. I mean, genetically has the shape and structure.
And then, of course, we had rounding up the top five is Jason. Jason has competed with us last year as well.
Yes. I think he got fourth last year.
Yeah. My only comment, well, of course, judging from the pictures and judging from me seeing them before they come out of stage, his conditioning was a bit off this year compared to last year.
Correct. So Jason is a competitor. He's joined, I think, a number of shows already. Definitely one of the top placers in probably all of the shows that he competes in. So he has a very round physique, small waist, but if he just came in a bit more vibrant and a bit tighter, a bit sharper, then definitely most likely he could have placed higher. He's someone who, if he nails it 100%, I think he can also win this class.
I think he peaked. I'm sure. I told his coach this, wins, and I said, I think he peaked during AGP. That was his peak.
Correct.
That was his
So
peak.
yes, I think like people who compete often, like in a string of shows, to me, I think it's very difficult to replicate a look, assuming you already have hit 100% at some prior point. So, no, realistically, he just has to be as good, maybe like 99%, 98%, and hopefully still be competitive enough to edge out the rest. But yeah, I'm not sure what his plans are for the rest of the year, but it doesn't take anything away from him. He has a very impressive physique, and I think if he nails his conditioning, his fullness, the balance between fullness and being crisp, he can definitely be another open A top contender. Definitely, like Jason, yeah.
Okay, so
Correct. So in short, A, most difficult to judge. Top five were
I was
excellent.
actually looking from the cutout from the stage, and I was looking at you guys in the judges table, and I was just like, I don't want to be in their shoes right
Correct.
now.
So it's but we had no choice but to select five, right?
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
but
really it.
I think everybody was happy with the results. I think you guys chose
And I
the
think
best of the best.
one thing that people should understand is if you have five competitors and all of them are excellent, and for example, we judge all five today at this point in time, and we judge them again, say 1 hour from now, their looks can change, the placings can change. So it's who is like the best
on that
at that particular point in time to us. So 2 hours from now, 3 hours from now, who knows? It could change. But at that point in time, we decided that the rankings were as such. So, we ended up with the placings.
And then we go to Class B.
Another competitive class. Super competitive.
I think it's always A and B that's
Correct.
quite competitive. We have 2 from Cebu, of course, and then 3 from Manila. Let's start with Justin. I think he got 5th.
Yeah, he got fifth.
He's improved. He's brought up his package this year compared to last year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember him competing, that he competed last year. Definitely, he's, very broad shoulders, wide pecs. I think one area that he can focus on is to improve the detail on his midsection. Because men's physique, we emphasize a lot on the midsection development and how detailed and sharp it is. So definitely improved from 2023 to 2024, but that's the main.
So you want deeper lines.
Deeper lines, deeper separation of the abs, and better conditioning. I think all of those things work together. So it could be a develop, continuing to develop the actual abdominal muscles. Then of course, yeah, improving the conditioning. Like all competitors will, like they really work. Conditioning is like a ever, it's always in progress anyway. So that's something for him to focus on next year, so he can climb up the open B ranks. Yeah.
And then, of course, Andrew took fourth. I think he took fifth last year, and then
Yes,
this year
yes,
he took one step up.
Correct. Yeah, fifth last year, then fourth this year.
My, of course, I wasn't in the judges table, but for me, he's brought up his package again, same as Justin. He's brought it up from last year. Although I just wanted him to be a little bit fuller.
Correct. So he brought up some body parts, like shoulders were a bit better this year. His back, his back is one of his better body parts. He's I feel that he's way tighter this year. But I think he might have sacrificed a bit of fullness and size. So if you check the top three guys, they're bigger and like bigger with the same quality and the same shape. But I think if Andrew can maintain the same conditioning, I mean, even his stance was excellent, conditioning and tightness, but be a bit fuller. So I'm not sure whether it's a peaking issue or not really an issue, but a peaking process that could improve or just add, additional muscle tissue during the off season. Yeah, he'll definitely continue climbing up. So he has a very impressive and complete physique, but for this show, I think it's just that the top three guys were a bit more muscular than him.
Joseph also competed last year, brought up his shoulders this year, chest as well. It's a little bit rounder. You think his conditioning, he could have placed higher if his conditioning was tighter?
Yes, correct. So in terms of muscular development, he seems to be very complete. I remember he was one of the more muscular guys in Open B, but definitely he could have been a bit tighter and more conditioned front to back, because when when we're attempting to rank top three guys, it's really picking out like who has this flaw, who has that flaw. So I think if he continues, so like personally to me, he has enough muscle already, so it's not something that's really holding him back. But I think if he continues to work on midsection detail, conditioning from the back, sharpness, while maintaining the same shape and muscularity, then I think he can improve further.
Could one and two could have gone either way
I think
between
It
Emil
was-
and Phil?
it was, I believe, like we really had to really assess and compare the two in order for us to decide like who would be first and who would be second. Both of these guys were top notch, like very, like slightly different physiques. Like Emil presented a rounder, like his shoulders were rounder, pecs were a bit rounder, bit fuller. But Phil also had this, maybe better density. Phil's posing was, I think, better than Emil, which could be an experience thing, given that I think Emil has competed only a few times.
No, I think he started competing when he was a junior.
Okay, okay.
Nationals in Pampanga, I think. Yeah, he did that, and then he did he continuously competed, and then he competed in muscle contest last year.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. Muscle contest.
So yeah, just judging on your, yeah, it could have. I think it could have. This was your scoring. I'm showing him the
Correct. So
results.
so definitely like 1 and 2 were close to each other, but I think what gave Phil the edge was number one, overall a more polished look. His posing was 100% dead on, not flinching, not breathing, not moving.
Phil is one of the athletes that once he's locked in his pose,
Correct.
he can stay there
So
for like the whole minute.
so then that in itself is a testament to how he really takes this sport seriously, right? So posing is like people can pose. Do your front pose, do your back pose.
But
But
can you hold it?
could you hold it? And he was very consistent. That's why it was relatively easier to judge him, because I did not have to, like, I did not have to keep on reminding them to hold their poses, because he would lock in the pose, not flinch, not breathe, not move. So definitely testament to his hard work inside the gym, like during posing, etc. Very polished look overall, very refined, very polished, and I think his lower body was also better.
His shorts was shorter too.
Correct. So that stresses the importance of how how the look of the shorts on a competitor can actually influence the overall appearance. So whether or not his legs are actually bigger than the second placer, but perception wise, his
The
legs
illusion
look
of it.
better, which complemented his upper body. So overall, yeah, Phil definitely deserved the Open B category gold medal.
Oof. That was, yeah. Well, Earl again took
Yeah, definitely.
home Class C. You have from 1 to 5. You have Earl taking Class C, and then second was Jerson. Yeah, second was Jerson, and then Jay, Orlando, and Mark. How did, like, because I wasn't able to watch this prejudging. I was at the back, I think.
So I think if I remember it correctly, yeah, definitely Earl, last year's Open C winner, of course, came back this year to do another back-to-back win, and he definitely delivered. I think Earl, he improved. Shoulders, chest were very developed. Midsection was good. Conditioning was probably the best in class. So it was not difficult to see that he would take the class. The second placer, I think what gave him the edge was he was probably among the sharpest, so that contributed to him, number 69, getting second place. Third place was JJ.
Yeah, I think JJ's like he's just warming up for
Correct.
AGP.
Yeah, I think
I
that
think
was his plan.
yeah,
So he
this is just his warm up show
correct. So
for
yeah.
in 2 weeks time.
So definitely still a good third placing. Given that I'm not sure if he really intended to, or it was a last minute decision or something to join the show, or maybe.
No, I
But
think he's real.
okay,
I think he sort of. I think it was really just a warm up show for him. Really just getting into the groove
yes,
of getting into competitive mode again, which is good for him. You know, it's a
yeah,
great package he
yeah,
showed.
still a great package, even if like he was just not it wasn't his 100% yet, but
See,
definitely
he doesn't need to be 100% to win. So imagine JJ being 100%
correct.
in two
So
weeks time for AGP.
yes,
He's somebody to.
yeah, definitely if he were 100%, then definitely he would be one of the open sea contenders to get the title. Yeah.
And then of course Orlando, which is one of
Orlando won the
Masters.
Masters 40 to 49, for 40 above.
40,
Yeah.
40 above.
So definitely, he, like we were actually discussing amongst us, and he has a very unique physique. Like it's a very memorable physique to me. He has a unique way of hitting his front poses, which actually works for him. His front is very sharp and very detailed. I think he if he just um, is a bit more, is a bit tighter from the back, then definitely he can continue improving. You know, a
Yes.
bit tighter and a bit, slightly more back development, then he can definitely do even better next time.
And then of course your fifth place is Mark, who's actually this is only I think his second year competing.
Okay.
Last year he competed not with us but with other shows, and I think he's won the newcomer in other shows, like which is like our equivalent of
Okay,
the
I remember.
novice.
Yes, yes.
So which is great because he, coming from a novice or true novice season the year before, now you're coming into the open and placing in the top five. Like the flow.
Correct. Flow and balance, like he can have that men's physique look, like broad chest, round shoulders, small waist. But
Back detail.
I guess, if I had to give him some advice, it would be to continue working on his back. Of course, the detail and the conditioning. So it goes hand in hand, right? So that is in order for him to be able to match his front, which I think it's there's still some slight discrepancy. So his front is ahead in terms of development relative to his back.
And then, of course, our last category. God, we're going to be an hour for this.
Okay.
Our last category, our overall champ coming back. I think in this category, there's three people who, or the top five, in the top five this year, three of them competed last year, which is like 30, who was the second,
Yeah.
and Brian Sabidong.
Yes, Brian.
So they both came in last year as well. So Nico, going to, well, let's start from Brian. Your thoughts? I know that he's changed coach on the last 5 weeks of prep.
Yeah, I remember him from number one. I remember him from last year, and I've seen some of his posts leading to the show. So, to me, he has like in terms of development, I would say he's quite complete. He can probably improve a bit of arms.
That's the problem with people who are tall.
Correct. So men's physique is, you have to be very careful. I think, like, you cannot have very developed arms. It would be a detriment. But at the same time, a lot of the men's physique poses are actually variations of, say, the front relaxed and the back rear relaxed poses, right? So definitely your arms should be big enough in order to, complement your torso. So for him, I think he has a very wide frame, which works for him. Wide shoulders, small waist. So I think he just has to continue building, some arms, some back, the detail of the midsection, and I think he can. I'm not sure why, but his stand could have been slightly better, especially during the night show, for better presentation.
And then, of course, fourth is ML Di Malanta. He's competed before, but this is I can't remember when the last time I saw him compete.
Yeah,
Probably nationals or
He's very muscular, definitely, like vascular through the chest. I think he can come in a bit tighter. So when it comes to open category men's physique, like the top competitors tend to have good shape already. So, we he just needs to come in tighter, probably, work on his stand, so his stand's a bit darker. But development wise, I think he has enough muscle. But just needs to be tighter, like more conditioned.
So 3-2-1, which is basically third is Jesse, and then 30 and Nico. So they pretty much look alike.
Correct. So 30 competed last year. He got second as well.
Second. This is the same repeat. The
Correct.
1 and 2 is the same.
So third placer was what if I remember it correctly, what impressed me was his midsection was quite detailed. So he was definitely more conditioned than the fourth and the fifth placer. So that definitely gave him the edge to be third. Then top two guys were basically a repeat of last year.
Last year. But
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just me. But registering in the monitor, because I have a monitor backstage, Nico did not seem confident this year.
With the
Did you notice Paul is actually here as well? So, but
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did notice it from from the moment he came out. So, but I thought it was probably just some extra nerves or nervousness because he had a lot coming into the show. He was the defending champion, so definitely there was a lot of pressure on him to deliver. But overall, I still think that Nico delivered a very polished physique. So what made him win last year also made him win this year. So very small waist, chest complemented the abs like round chest, wide chest. Shoulders were a bit wide, and I think the strongest point was his waist was very, very small, very tight, which to me still gave him the edge to actually win this class. So 30 definitely very familiar face. He just got second from classic,
Classic,
earlier.
yeah.
I mean, in his classic division. I mean, then but what I can say is it was way closer this year between the two of them. So it could have gone either way, but I think it was Nico's like structure, like smaller waist, and I'd say thicker, like the way his specs are developed, and how his tape,
tie-ins and
how the taper is like from lats to waist still gave him the extra edge. But yeah, I think like speaking about Nico, to be perfectly objective, I think he was slightly more confident last year when posing than this year, but he was still good enough to get the job done and win his category.
So amongst everyone, like amongst all the athletes,
Yes.
do you have any standouts?
A few.
One of
Yeah.
my standouts is the novice overall, which is Paul
Correct. Paul Castro.
Castro. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's quite impressive.
Correct. So-
as you were saying a while ago,
So after the show, right? I mean, immediately when we saw him on stage, like definitely this guy would be a top contender. Very complete physique, midsection, chest, presentation, very confident. Then after the show, I did some checks and realized that he did compete last year, and the changes he accumulated year on year were outstanding. Like clear testament to the amount of hard work
Work.
in the gym, in the kitchen, preparing his meals. Like 12 months difference. That's like, and winning his novice class and the true novice speaks a lot. So definitely well deserved. So that means going forward, he will be be hopefully fighting it out in the Open A going forward,
I
which
think
he
so,
also
he-
joined,
he-
right?
yeah,
he was part of the
first call out.
top 8 or top 9
Yeah.
call out. Yeah,
So one, and then who else?
true novice winner Casey
Roy.
So Casey Roy definitely very impressive. Has a unique look to him. Full round muscle berries, very muscular physique. And one interesting thing is he did join a lot of categories, right?
Okay,
How many? 6?
I think he joined about 4 to 5.
4 to 5.
He did the classic physique, he did true novice, he did novice, he did open. I'm
Correct,
not sure
correct,
if
yes.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
he did open, he did
yeah, he
open.
did open as well. So I think like for Earl din naman, Earl did
Master and
masters
open.
and open. For me, Earl became tighter towards like at the nighttime show, the final show. For some reason, I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
he just became tighter because maybe because of I'm not sure if he had dim sum already, but he was able to eat and he was pumping and he was already posing, and it does go around as in your system goes in to drive again, and then it sort of burns it, and he was tighter. Earl was tighter in the nighttime show. Did you?
Um, I have to review the picks, but yeah, definitely like Earl was a standout from from prejudging. So
Yeah.
it was a bit clear cut to me.
And
But
then
yeah, going back to Casey Roy,
mhm.
so he was probably the only competitor who participated in the most number of um, categories, and I think what was also impressive was the fact that his look actually did not fade. So from like the very first time he stepped on stage to the very last time he stepped on stage, it was literally the same look. So, that's a unique observation in itself, given he has very limited competition experience, yet he was able to do that. Um,
Well,
I hope
also,
he sticks with this.
yeah, also with
Definitely.
his coaches.
Correct.
I think shout out to Alfonso, who did a great job.
Definitely, yes.
Keeping him not fading.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
And his posing coach was Poi Poi.
yeah.
So definitely, his posing you was overall
I think
good
anybody
for a
yeah,
first timer.
anybody
So
can improve.
correct,
Everybody
yes.
like
You wouldn't necessarily notice that he was a first timer. So he was able to hold his poses. Of course, it's always a work in progress, right? But definitely he was one of the standouts.
and then of course the guys from Cebu.
Correct.
You
Emil.
have Emil is from Davao.
Okay, Emil was
Stand out.
for me.
Jake as well.
Correct.
For
Jake.
me.
Third placer open, yeah.
Third is also a standout. In the sense, of course, we're not saying that the winners are better than the winners. It's more of really seeing the potential of what they can bring or
Correct.
what just
Yeah,
imagining.
it's because the winners we already know them.
Yeah.
They've pretty much done a repeat high level performance, but these standouts are either relatively new to the scene
Yeah.
or have been competing but have made great progress over the past year, such that they're now being noticed more and more. So I agree. Jake, Emil, Paul, Casey,
Albert, the juniors guy,
correct.
amazing
Number
as well.
55, yeah.
Yeah.
21 years old, super impressive, did excellently.
The
So,
natty natural A and true novice guy, Grix.
yes, Grix,
This is his first time as well competing.
correct, yes.
For
So,
somebody who's doing this for the very first time, he looks great.
agree. So, he had the, like, balance between muscularity, conditioning, and presentation. Which in presentation's not really a thing for novice, most novice competitors, but he had all three, so definitely that gave him the edge. So I agree, very balanced physique, very athletic look
I
as
think
well.
you know he's actually a gymnast, and he's competed before
Correct,
in
yeah.
that field. So I think that's the reason why I think you put any athlete who's competed already and put him in another sport,
True.
it
That's
sort of translate or
yes,
there's
there's a
some
carryover. Yeah,
transference to
correct.
the wow. So are you excited for 2025?
Of course,
This is
more work.
definitely more work because we're adding
But
bikini.
but we have to think of ways how to stretch out the timelines and at the same time squeeze in additional
Yeah.
categories, and that might mean discarding a few. No,
Uh, Probably not.
probably.
I basically will have to work around it, and hopefully the athletes will, cutting their posting, their individual
Correct, correct.
posting
So yeah,
to
I
a
think yeah, we
shorter.
we can discuss
I
that
think, yeah,
offline.
we'll
Yeah,
we'll
like
we'll discuss that, but hopefully they'd say, oh, bakit sa akin konti lang, or sometimes when you've already presented once, like let's say you've presented already in novice,
correct, correct.
it doesn't, when you do the open, you won't have the same time allotted
True, true.
because the judges have seen you already.
True. And I guess in terms of like individual presentation, we can focus on prejudging, and that will allow spectators to come in and watch from prejudging until the finals, not just during the finals. So it's extra motivation for everyone to start watching right from the very start.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so
Okay.
thank you very much, Steve, and to everybody who watched KG Classic last weekend. Thank you very much for watching, or for coming to Palacio. We will try to get a bigger venue next year so that we'll have more people coming in, or we can accommodate more people. But for now, thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you,
you, thank you.
Steve. We'll see you again next year, and that's KG Talks for episode 4. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay, thank you.